Hi there, and welcome back to another episode of Paint with Sean. So today we are going to do a little bit of slow down. So what I mean by this is every video is going to show you one step of the painting. So typically we've just been going about 30 minutes and see how far we get with the painting and go until we finish the painting. But today we're going to start a new step-by-step process so you can really focus on the one individual technique that creates the one thing that we're doing in that video. All right. So today we're going to start with the background. It always starts with the background. You always paint the thing that is the farthest away. So typically that is the sky. Now, if you're doing some things and you get real crazy and there's virtually no sky, that's fine, but it doesn't have the same depth to it. So having some way that you can see even a piece of the sky really shows things looking far away. So the very first step that I always do with the acrylic paint that we're using, so depending on the type of paint you're using, maybe you can get away with something different, but in acrylic paint, it doesn't typically blend very well. So a sky, we want it to be soft. We don't want there to be any hard lines. So if you have any variation of color, you want those to really be blended and soft. The softer it is, the less detailed it is, the farther away it's going to look. So the best way that I have found is to have it wet and thin. So thin is adding water. That's one way to blend stuff. The other way is just to have it wet. So I'm going to put, I have white acrylic gesso. So this is sort of an undercoat. And I'm just using a big giant brush, about 1.5 inches. And I'm going to apply this pretty liberally. Okay, so I got a ton on here. And we're just going to come up on here and coat about the top, maybe 1/3 of this. Okay, so I'm just putting on a layer of white, sort of an underlayment, and this will get it nice and wet. And it will also add a lightness to the color, so it will help it not be quite so dark in that background. Usually the farther stuff away, the farther something is, the lighter the color is. And then they get more pronounced and dark as they get closer to you. So we're just going to get a good coat of this on there. And this doesn't have to be perfect, and it's okay if there's some streaks. I'm more just trying to make it nice and even here. So we'll flatten this out, get it on there nice and light. Everything kind of evened out. We just don't want any big clumps or globs. Okay, so I've got that up there. I'm going to scrape off the excess just because I don't put anything else in this, so it's just white gesso back into the white gesso bucket. And then again, anytime you have some paint on your brush, if you're not going to use it again right away, wash it pretty quickly, even if you just set it in some water so that it can't dry out. Okay, once they dry out, boy, it's hard to get that paint out. But if you wash while it's still wet, just in water, you don't even need to use soap, just plain water. Hot water works better, but you can get all the paint out and you can keep your brushes really nice. So put my lid back on my gesso. Okay, we'll get to the sky here. Okay, so I've got 4 colors, black, blue, red, and yellow. So this is going to be sort of the variation of the sky. Now I'm going to start over here with a sort of purplish color. We're going to get into a real dark blue, a lighter blue, and then sort of a greenish sort of blue. So it'll be a lighter color. Now because this white is already on the canvas, everything that I mix up is going to be a lighter version of that. So for whatever color you put on here, just know it's going to get lightened up because it's going to pick up that white that's on there. So I'm going to come right in the middle of this blue and red, pull some of both of it on here, and I'm just going to mix this around to make a purple. So this is pretty easy to do. It doesn't have to be any specific shade. And again, I know this is going to lighten up, so if this is fairly dark, that's okay. I got about even mixture of this, so the red's going to show through pretty good. It's a little bit darker than the blue. Okay, and I'm just going to load this paintbrush full of paint. I want a ton of paint on there. And it's okay if you got some of that blue and red in there. It'll blend in. All right, so I want the darkest point to be all the way over on the far end. So that's where I'm going to put the paint first, because that will be the most concentrated version of the color. And then it will get lighter as I have less paint that blends in with the white. Okay, so I'm going to start up here and just do some X's. Okay, and you can immediately see that white is pulled in, and you can see how quickly that lightens up. Okay, almost instantly that gets lighter. Okay, so now I want to have a darker blue sort of color. So I'll get a little bit of this paint off of there, but I'm not too worried about it. And we're going to get mostly blue. Okay, so I'll pull a good bunch of blue out and just a bit of black. It really doesn't take much. Okay, so we want to really get nice and dark with this blue color here. Get a little bit more black in there. And it always turns it to kind of a grayish blue. So if you go straight blue with black, it always gets kind of a blue-gray color depending on how much black you get in there. And you can also make this darker with other colors, like a forest green or even a brown or something. So I've got a pretty good dark blue, and now I'm going to come in here where it started to get lighter and apply this same sort of blue. I don't want all the dark to be right at the top, okay? So I'm going to kind of vary this a little bit with where I start. So we're going to start here and sort of come out from here. Okay, and don't come right back over the spot where you started. Okay, you really want to kind of spread this out a little bit. Now again, I'm going to come back and blend this. So I'm just putting some color on here real quick while this is nice and wet. Now I'm going to come back in, get straight blue here. Again, sort of vary where this concentrated color is. So I'll come down here a little bit and sort of blend up in here. Okay, and we're sort of getting a very unique pattern here, or consistent pattern. So that's okay. We're again going to blend this and it'll sort of look like a gradient color. All right. And now I've got this blue sort of on my brush already. So I'm just going to pull some yellow out here and I'm going to put it over on the side. A little bit of blue in there. I want this to be fairly green, so we get lots of yellow in there. There we go. A little more blue. There we go. Make sure I don't get any of that dark color over there. Make this nice and green, very bluish green. Okay. And then we'll finish this off over here. So I want my dark spot up here on this corner, and we'll just fade out. Okay, and just little crisscross strokes. And you can see this is already starting to dry over here. Okay. So now we want to come back with a little bit more of a dry brush and blend this. So I'm going to take my big brush, and this one's sort of a rounded, flat-tipped brush. Okay, and I just want to tap this in a little bit. And this is just going to take out a lot of the brush strokes. It's going to kind of combine the colors where they are. Okay, and it will even out some of this sky as it comes. Okay. And again, it will pick up that color, and that's okay. We just want to even this out. Give it that nice soft look. Sorry if that's loud. But it really blends these in between areas. So the more you tap where the colors come together, the more natural the blend will look. And it's okay if it kind of pulls that color over into it and you don't blend straight up and down or straight left and right. You can come back in and kind of play around and get some different color pieces going on. And you have to push a little bit, but it doesn't have to be too intense. You can do this semi-softly and kind of decide where you want the dark and light concentrations to show up. Okay, so we're just going to keep patting this until we get it kind of blended in. And the sky's going to be a real dynamic eye catcher right when you come into this painting. Everybody will say, wow, look at that sky. What's going on in that little world where you got blues that become, or greens that become blue, that become gray, that become purple. Okay, and the more you pat this, the lighter it will get because it will incorporate more of that white underneath. Okay, so you can leave some of these areas a little bit dark, and that's okay. So we're just going to bring some of this purple in here and kind of play with it in a little bit. Okay. We'll get some of this blue up in here. Just sort of blend this out where these come together, because you don't want to really see where one part stops and another part continues. You want to just let those blend and happen. Okay, so we're coming up with a real good looking sky here. This is a lot of tapping, so if you need to take a break, that's okay. I'm just going to keep going with this and kind of soften this out. Yeah, looks good. I really like these techniques. So this is just a patting technique that kind of allows you to blend in a different way than just brushing everything on. Okay, and the lighter you tap, the more it will blend. Okay, the harder you push, the more it's going to imprint those bristles. So the lighter you get it, the lighter that little tap goes. Okay, and I've got some paint on the brush here, so you can always just brush it off over here, get off some of those under layers. The more dry your brush is, the better it will blend as well, because then it can pick up some of what's on there. So I just want to even this color out over here. Okay, just gonna get this little area going on. Oh, I like those blends. Those look good. Okay, so we got a pretty good looking sky. I want to blend this over here. We got a little bit more color streaks going on. I don't want those brush strokes, because once they're there, the only way to get rid of them is to paint back over them. We've got this beautiful looking sky going on. I don't really want to cover it up. Okay, so I'm getting this little transition going on, nice and soft. Everything's looking good. Okay, all right. And again, sometimes it takes, you know, stepping back from the canvas a little bit. I just want to even this spot out a little bit, you know. It's got some things going on, and I want it to just soften a little bit. Okay, so you can play in your own world, and you can make these skies whatever color you want, but this is just one technique where you can just use a couple of colors. I started with the primaries and went from this purple to this gray to this blue to this green, and if you want to have them a little bit more wavy and interwoven, that's totally up to you. So we've got a real cool looking sky going on. It's very soft and undefined, and that's what we're really looking for. So this is how, one way that you can paint a sky, and we're going to continue in the next video and add some clouds to this. So we're gonna let this dry a little bit so that it's not going to mix with our clouds. We can make those a solid feature over the top. So go ahead and let this dry before you come back and watch the next video, and we'll start on the next one with some clouds. See you then.